I wasn't too excited to be back in my old hometown. After many years of trying to forget my teenage years, the high school reunion felt like a bad idea. I parked my car and walked towards the gym. The old building looked the same, but there was a strange energy in the air. Inside, it felt both familiar and unsettling. Decorations hung everywhere, and the smell reminded me of stale popcorn and sweat. As I mingled, my eyes scanned the crowd. I couldn't recognize many faces, but I felt their gazes on me. I brushed it off as nerves. Then I saw Kat, an old classmate. She approached me, her smile seemed too bright. "Jordan. It's been ages," she said. We exchanged awkward pleasantries until she asked me about prom. My heart sank. My mind flashed back to that night, the laughter, the chaos, and something darker that still haunted me. "Do you remember how wild it was?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. I wanted to say yes, but the night was a blur. I couldn't shake the feeling that my memories were twisted. Others from the class were around, chatting, but I caught their eyes darting toward me. Their smiles felt forced. I felt panic creeping in as I overheard snippets: the accident, the truth. My stomach twisted. Had I buried those memories too deeply? "Jordan," Kat leaned closer, her voice low. "Do you remember who else was there that night?" I thought hard. I recalled fleeting faces, but most were lost to a haze of guilt and regret. I felt the sweat pooling in my palms. Old friends surrounded me, but their smiles didn't reach their eyes. I felt cold. In the corner, I noticed a small group whispering. They glanced at me, and laughter escaped them, but it felt wrong. Something inside me churned. I looked away, trying to drown out their murmurs. "Why did you leave us that night?" This voice rang clear in my mind. I turned, but nobody stood behind me. Just shadows. Then I saw him. A man stood against the wall, watching. I didn't recognize him. Panic shot through me. I blinked, and he was gone. I looked back at Kat, hoping she could provide answers. But she just smiled sweetly, as if daring me to keep digging. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked. It felt like she was probing deeper, searching for answers. "I wonder if we'll ever really know the truth." I felt panic rising again. I didn't want the truth. Around me, whispers grew louder. I couldn't focus. I wanted to leave, but my feet felt glued to the floor. "Jordan." Someone called. I turned toward the voice, but my vision blurred. Faces shimmered like ghosts. Patterns of memories tangled with dread. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I was about to step towards the exit when Kat leaned in again. "Do you remember the last song?" she asked. I froze. The room grew silent. I could hear my heart thudding. The last song. What had happened during the last song? I felt a chill run down my spine. The air thickened, and something was definitely wrong. Then, it struck me. Something dark was waiting for me there, buried just below the surface. I had always thought I could leave it behind, but maybe it was never gone at all. The room felt like it was closing in on me, the laughter now a haunting echo. I needed air. I stepped toward the exit, heart racing, but Kat's voice lingered in my ears. "The last song," she had said. Why did it matter so much? I clutched my phone, feeling the weight of it in my pocket. What was I even going to do with it? Call someone? As I reached the door, I paused. Something pulled me back. Was it curiosity or dread? I turned to see Kat still watching, her smile taunting. I decided to push through the door, needing to escape even if just for a moment. Outside, the night was cooler, grounding. I drew in a breath, the gym's echoes fading behind me. I paced around the parking lot, trying to clear my head. My thoughts were a tangled mess. The accident, the truth, that definition of the last song eluded me. Why couldn't I remember? In a few moments of quiet, my phone buzzed. I glanced down. It was a text from an old friend, Jake, someone I hadn't talked to in years. "Are you okay? You looked freaked out in there." His message hit me like a splash of cold water. Of course, it happened in front of everyone. What had they seen? I quickly typed back. "Just catching up with old friends. Be right in." I hit send, but then hesitated. I thought about reaching out to Jake, asking if he remembered the night we all spent at prom. But before I could, a shadow crossed my path. I squinted into the dim light, my heart dropping. It was the man from the gym, standing there, an edge of familiarity in his gaze. He wore a leather jacket that looked too tight on his frame. My pulse quickened. "Do I know you?" I stammered. He stepped closer, and the hairs on my neck stood up. "You don't remember me? We were all there, that night." His voice was low and rough, surfacing memories I didn't want to face. "Who are you?" I demanded, crossing my arms, defensively. He grinned, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just someone who knows more than you." I felt sick. My instincts screamed that I should run, but I stood frozen. "What happened? What do you know?" He leaned in, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a flash of concern in his expression. "Sometimes it's better to forget. But you're back now, and that changes everything." Panic surged like ice through my veins. "What are you talking about?" Before he could answer, a voice interrupted. "Jordan." It was Kat, suddenly at my side. She looked between us, a flicker of fear in her eyes. "You don't want to talk to him?" The man straightened, his gaze now hard and unreadable. "Don't listen to her." As they faced each other, I took a step back, trying to process the sudden shift in energy. The weight of the word secrets, warnings hung thick in the air. Then, as swiftly as he had appeared, the man faded into the darkness. I turned to Kat, who appeared shaken but determined. "We need to talk. There are things you don't understand." Every instinct told me to run, but something else compelled me to stay. Curiosity or fear, I didn't know. But I needed answers. "What things?" She glanced toward the shadows where the man had disappeared. "The truth, Jordan. We all have to face it." Then everything went dark, as if the night itself had closed in. The darkness felt suffocating, wrapping around me like a thick fog. My heart raced, my breath came in quick gasps as I squinted into the void. I couldn't tell where Kat had gone. "Kat." My voice wavered, swallowed by the silence. Suddenly, a shiver ran down my spine as the sharp beam of a cell phone flashlight flickered on. Kat stood several feet away, looking worried. "Stay close to me," she said, urgency in her tone. I hurried over to her, all too aware of the shadows lurking in the corners of the lot. "Did he really just vanish?" I asked, my voice low. She nodded, eyes darting nervously. "He has a way of doing that. Trust me, Jordan, we need to leave this place." I glanced back at the gym's entrance, the fluorescent lights shining a false sense of safety. "What does he want from me?" "Answers," she replied, biting her lip. "Or rather, he wants you to remember." A chill settled over me. "Remember what?" I didn't like where this was going. Kat hesitated, panic creeping into her features. "About the last song. About what happened that night." My head spun. "What night?" "Nothing happened that I can recall." But deep down, I felt the weight of something unfinished, a gap in my memory. A distant noise caught my attention, laughter mixed with muffled conversations drifting from the gym. I flinched, the sound a reminder of the suffocating atmosphere I had just escaped. What if I can't remember? What if I never can? She moved closer, lowering her voice. We need to go somewhere safe, somewhere we can talk without interruptions. Before I could respond, a figure emerged from the darkness, silhouetted and menacing. The immediate urge to bolt coursed through me. But it was Jake. I recognized him just in time. Jordan. Kat. What is going on? Jake's arrival broke the tension, but it also added another layer of confusion. I started, but Kat cut me off. Not here. It's not safe. You saw that guy, didn't you? Jake swallowed hard, looking between us. Yeah, he gave me the creeps. What did he want? I wanted to explain everything, but the words tangled in my throat. Instead, Kat looked at Jake intently. You need to tell him what you know. Jake ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of stress. I don't know much. I think everybody else knows. About that night. What night? I pressed, my impatience boiling over. He glanced around as if checking for eavesdroppers. The prom night. You were in an accident. Everyone else moved on, but you never came back. A jolt of unease settled in my stomach. What do you mean? He hesitated, then added, they just said you were gone. But now you're back. I mean, really back, right? Those words landed like bricks, fabricating a heaviness I couldn't ignore. My heart raced. I had to know the truth. But did I really want to? Wait, I said slowly, comprehension dawning. What else do you know? Then, before Jake could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, my eyes widening as I read the message. Meet me where it all happened. Panic surged through me. Who is it? I looked at Kat and Jake, both of their expressions mirroring my own dread. That S, when I saw it, I thought as shadows danced in the periphery, closing in. I felt my heart skip, staring at the screen like it was a bomb about to go off. The cryptic message was from an unknown number, but it stirred something inside me. Is it about the prom? My voice shook as I spoke, and I noticed Kat's face pale even further. Jake looked between us, worry etched on his features. This can't be a coincidence. Whatever happened that night, it's affecting you now, Jordan. Or it's someone playing a sick joke, Kat said, her brow furrowing. We should ignore it. But what if ignoring it meant losing the chance to understand? What if this was the key I needed to unlock the past? I ran a hand over my face, feeling the weight of their gazes on me. I need to go, I said, my tone firm. I need to know what they want. Kat reached out, grabbing my arm. You can't just walk into a trap. We don't even know who that is. Look, Jake interjected, clearly anxious. How about we go together? Strength in numbers, right? A flicker of fear crossed Kat's eyes, but she nodded. Okay. But we need to be careful. Whatever happened that night, it changed everything. I swallowed hard, knowing she was right. There was something ominous lurking beneath the surface, and we were about to dive deeper. We moved quickly, slipping back into the shadowy parking lot. The path ahead felt weighted with dread, each step echoing in the silence. Where do we even go? Jake asked, glancing around, clearly unsettled. By the old auditorium, I remembered. That's where we all ended up after. Well, you know. Kat frowned. That's where it happened. Yes. Everyone was there. As we hurried toward the auditorium, the world outside felt distorted. The laughter from the gym faded into a dull roar behind us, shadowed by an unshakable tension. I could almost feel the remnants of that night pressing against my chest, urging me to remember. When we reached the building, the fading light created a ghostly glow through the broken windows. Do you really think someone will be here? Kat whispered, glancing at me and then behind us as if expecting someone to follow. Someone's been waiting here, I suggested, assuming it was the stranger from the lot, but uncertainty gnawed at me. Or they know we're coming. Let's check inside, Jake said, his voice brave but laced with hesitation. As the three of us stepped through the heavy door, the air turned thick with anticipation. Dust motes danced around us, illuminated by the faint slivers of light breaking through the cracks. Suddenly, Kat froze, her gaze fixed on something in the far corner of the room. What is that? A shape emerged from the shadows, a figure wrapped in darkness. My blood ran cold as dread gripped me. Get back! I shouted, pulling both Kat and Jake closer. The figure stirred, and as they stepped into the light, recognition hit me like a punch to the gut. I stumbled back, my heart racing, as I whispered, I know you. The figure stepped fully into the light, revealing a familiar face I hadn't seen in years. It was Alex, someone I used to know well. Memories of laughter and shared secrets flooded back, but they twisted inside me like a knife. Alex? I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. You should have stayed away, Alex said, their tone flat, void of the warmth I remembered. I looked at Kat and Jake, searching for their reactions, but they were just as confused and alarmed as I was. Why are you here? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The last thing I wanted was to show weakness. Because you all should know the truth, Alex replied, stepping closer. There was a tense silence as the weight of their words hung in the air. I could see the anger boiling beneath their calm exterior, and it sent nerves racing through me. Kat finally spoke up, her voice tinged with fear. What truth? About that night? A flicker of recognition crossed Alex's face. You really don't remember, do you? They took a moment, as if weighing the consequences of what they were about to reveal. You were part of it. We all were. I felt my heart race. What do you mean? Alex shook their head, dark hair falling into their eyes. You think it was just a party? You think everything was okay? I saw what you all did. We didn't just leave things behind. We destroyed each other that night. Stop, I said, anger surging through me. You're making it sound worse than it was. But deep down, I felt the truth looming, twisting my stomach into knots. I remembered the chaos, the guilt that followed. It was worse, Alex insisted, stepping even closer. Some of us didn't come back from that night. It wasn't just a party, it was a reckoning. And now, it's coming back for you. Jake shifted beside me, his gaze darting between Alex and me. This isn't a joke, is it? You really believe there's something lingering from that night? I know there is, Alex said, a hint of desperation creeping into their voice. I've been seeing things. Hearing things. The past isn't done with us. Not yet. Suddenly, the air around us shifted, a chill creeping in. My breath quickened as doubt crept in. Was this a game? Or was something truly at play? Then Alex reached into their pocket and pulled out a small, tattered piece of paper. I found this after the party. You all need to remember. This isn't over. I took a step back, the paper trembling in their outstretched hand. The words written on it felt like a weight pressing down on me. I glanced over at Kat, her face pale, and Jake eyeing Alex with uncertainty. So what do we do now? I asked, my voice strained. Alex dropped the paper, the flutter of it drifting towards the floor. You find out what really happened. Or it'll find you. And with that, Alex turned, vanishing into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. The room felt colder, the silence deafening. I knelt down, picking up the paper, shaking as I read the first line, you can't escape what you've done. An unsettling truth hit me. That night was just the beginning, and whatever was coming next would haunt us all. The next day felt heavier than the one before. I paced my apartment, the paper from Alex clutched tight in my hand. The words loomed like a dark cloud over everything. Every creak of the floorboards brought a jolt of anxiety. Could I really face what lay ahead? I had no choice. I have to talk to them, I muttered, thinking of Kat and Jake. They needed to know what Alex said and what I had found. We agreed to meet at our old hangout, the park where our group used to gather. I arrived early, my heart racing with a mix of dread and anticipation. The air was filled with the sounds of laughter and children playing, but it felt distant, almost mockingly cheerful. When they showed up, both Kat and Jake looked tense. "Did you sleep at all?" Jake asked, concern etched on his face. "Not really," I admitted. I handed them the paper. Alex came by and said some things. My voice trailed off as I tried to gauge their reactions. "What things?" Kat pressed, her brow furrowed. I took a deep breath. "They said we were all part of something dark that night. That we destroyed each other." Jake frowned. I knew it. I knew it wasn't just me feeling off about that night. "Wait, you felt off too?" Kat's eyes darted between us. "Of course," I replied. The guilt. The blame. It was all over the place. Before we could dive deeper, a familiar figure entered the park, striding toward us confidently. It was Melanie, another friend from that night, her face plastered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hey, everyone!" she called out, her cheer feeling forced. I exchanged worried glances with Kat and Jake. None of us had seen her since that party. "What are you doing here?" I asked, unable to mask my suspicion. "I was just in the neighborhood," she replied, her voice too bright. But the way her eyes darted around told a different story. "We need to talk about what happened," Jake said bluntly. "Oh, you mean that night?" Melanie's smile faded, replaced by a shadow of discomfort. "There's nothing to talk about. It's all in the past, right?" Kat stepped forward. "But it's not over. We need to know the truth." That's when I saw a flicker of panic in Melanie's eyes. "The truth? What truth?" "We don't know, but something's not right," I said. "Alex said it's coming back for us." The words leaped from my mouth, unbidden. A beat of silence stretched between us. Melanie's expression hardened, and she took a step back. "You shouldn't have come here." "Why not?" I asked, feeling a chill wash over me. "Because you're digging where you shouldn't." Her voice dropped to an almost inaudible whisper. "Trust me, it's better to leave the past buried." Before I could respond, she turned and dashed away. The suddenness of it left us stunned. "What was that about?" Kat asked, glancing at me. "I don't know, but I think she knows something," I said, my heart pounding. Then, a thought struck me. We need to find out what Alex knows and what Melanie is hiding. We can't run from this anymore. As we gathered our thoughts, I felt another chill breeze sweep through the park. "Something's definitely not over," I said softly, a sense of urgency gripping me. We needed answers, and the looming shadow of our past promised to get darker. I couldn't ignore the unease pooling in my stomach. Melanie's frantic departure weighed on me. We needed to act quickly. Time felt like a predator closing in. "Let us go to Alex's place," I suggested. I didn't want to wait any longer. My friends nodded, their faces pale but resolute. Together, we walked through the familiar streets that felt different now. Every corner seemed to echo our past. I could almost hear the laughter from that night, but it felt haunting. When we reached Alex's apartment, I hesitated. What if he didn't want to talk? What if he was as cryptic as Melanie? I knocked, my heart racing louder with each second that passed. After a moment, the door creaked open. Alex stood there, his eyes wide, his demeanor visibly more anxious than I remembered. "Hey, what's going on?" I felt the need to explain everything. "Can we come in? It's important." He looked at each of us, then stepped aside. "Yeah, okay." Inside, the atmosphere was thick. I glanced around, taking in the dim light and the scattered remnants of a life that seemed to be struggling to move forward. We need to talk about that night. Alex ran a hand through his hair. I figured you guys would want to. He stopped, glancing around as if expecting someone to burst in. I don't think we should. It's not safe. Not safe. Jake echoed. What do you mean by that? I mean, after we all went our separate ways, things got strange. People started talking. Some say they saw things. His voice trembled. Strange things. What kind of things? Kat asked, her eyes wide. Voices, shadows, a presence. He hesitated, then added, people started blaming us for what happened. I thought I was just losing it, but now he trailed off. Now what? I pressed, feeling frustration and fear swirl together. Now I think it's real, he admitted quietly. I saw something last week, someone from that party. I can't shake the feeling that it's connected. What did you see? I asked, my heart pounding. I don't know if I can explain it. It was like a figure lurking in the shadows. Watching. Waiting. And then, it was gone. His words hung heavily in the air. Kat shivered. This can't just be in our heads. Too many of us are feeling it. Just then, a loud thud echoed outside, catching our attention. We all turned toward the door. What was that? Jake said, his voice shaky. I don't know, I whispered, my heart racing again. The previous unease turned into raw panic. Before anyone could think, Alex dashed to the window. I'll check, he said. The air in the room felt dense, the shadows growing darker as he peered outside. I held my breath. Then he turned back, his face ghostly pale. You need to see this. Without waiting, he opened the door and stepped out, beckoning us to follow. As I stepped outside, the cool air hit me, a stark contrast to the heat of our conversation. I looked down the street and froze. There, at the end of the block, stood the figure Alex spoke of, watching us. I couldn't move. The figure was cloaked, and its eyes glinted like dark stones. I felt the blood drain from my face. That's when I understood we had all awakened something that shouldn't have been disturbed. And now it was coming for us. I stood frozen, my thoughts racing as I tried to convince myself that I was imagining things. But the figure was there, distinct and unwavering. The shadows around it seemed to deepen, stretching forward like fingers yearning to reach us. What the hell is that? Jake whispered, breaking the silence with a tremor in his voice. I don't know, I replied, though I was starting to fear I had a very real idea. Alex edged closer to me, and I could see his hands shaking. Kat squeezed her eyes shut, as if trying to will the figure away. We needed to act. Let us go back inside, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I turned, ready to rush back, but something caught my eye. The figure shifted slightly, and I could have sworn it moved just a fraction closer. Wait! Alex called, and I turned back to him. It looks like it's waiting for something. Waiting for what? Kat asked, panic clearly etched on her face. Before anyone could respond, the figure raised a hand, pointing directly at us. A jolt of ice slid down my spine. What does it want? I muttered, barely audible. Maybe it needs us to go toward it, Alex suggested, though he sounded as though he wished he hadn't spoken at all. No way, I shot back. We have to get inside. Now. We began to back away slowly, my heart pounding with every step. But as we turned to retreat, a low whisper slithered through the night. It wrapped around my thoughts, curling into my mind. Come play, did you hear that? I hissed, glancing at Alex and Jake. Both nodded, eyes wide and frightened. The figure remained still, but its presence felt more threatening with every passing second. We stumbled back toward the door, nearly colliding as we rushed inside. I slammed it shut behind us, gasping for breath. What the hell was that? Jake asked, his voice quivering. I don't know, I replied, leaning against the wall to steady myself. But we shouldn't have gone out there. Alex ran a hand through his hair again, a nervous habit I recognized. We need to figure out what is happening. This can't just be about that night. There has to be more. More. Kat echoed, her tone incredulous. You mean more than a creepy shadow figure that wants to play with us? That's all I need to know to get the hell out of here. I nodded, sharing her sentiment, but deep down, I realized escaping this wasn't an option. Something had latched onto us. Suddenly, a frantic knocking rattled the door, making us jump. My heart raced again. Alex? A voice yelled from outside. My breath caught. It was Melanie. Melanie. I called, the door feeling far too heavy and too fragile at the same time. We need to talk. It's not safe. She shouted, panic filtering through her voice. Who is she talking about? I whispered to Alex, but the answer hung heavily in the air. We hesitated, caught between fear and a desperate need for answers. But just then, I noticed the shadows formulating around us once again. A part of me was terrified that whatever was lurking outside would come for us next. That's when I realized I didn't just want to know anymore, I needed to know. Open the door, I said, resolute despite the dread pooling in my stomach. I hesitated before the door, my hand hovering over the knob. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me. Shadows inched closer, curling around my feet as if somehow they were alive. Are you sure about this? Jake asked, his voice tight with worry. Melanie sounded scared. Scared or not, we can't stay here, I replied, trying to sound braver than I felt. I opened the door slightly, just enough to see her face. Melanie looked frantic, her eyes wide and darting as if she were being chased. You guys need to listen to me. It's not safe here. The figure you saw, it's connected to what happened last summer. What do you mean? What happened? I asked, my stomach tightening. Before she could answer, a loud crash echoed through the house. We all jumped, turning towards the sound. It came from the back of the house. My heart was racing again, pounding against my ribcage like it wanted out. That wasn't the wind, Alex said, his face pale. Stay here. I said, feeling a surge of protectiveness. I didn't want them to face whatever was creeping in the shadows. But a part of me knew I had to understand what was happening. So I stepped into the hall, cautiously making my way toward the source of the noise. Melanie followed, her voice shaky. We need to stick together. Whatever you saw outside, it wants something from us. What does it want? Kat whispered from behind, clearly terrified. I don't know. But if we don't figure it out, we'll be in deeper trouble than we already are. I reached the living room, and my breath hitched. The window was shattered, glass scattered across the floor like glittering stars. The curtains fluttered eerily, twisting as a cold breeze swept through. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw a movement. I turned and saw the figure again, but it was inside now, looming in the shadows beyond the glassy surface of the mirror. It seemed more corporeal, forming into something almost human, but twisted. Panic surged. Get back! I screamed, pushing Melanie and Kat behind me. But I didn't want to retreat, I had to confront this thing. What did it want? Suddenly, it spoke again. Find me, find you. What are you talking about? I shouted at it, feeling a mix of anger and fear. The figure pointed again, this time at a small box on the shelf above the fireplace. My eyes widened. What's in there? Melanie moved closer as if drawn by an invisible thread. I remember that. It belonged to Leo. The boy who disappeared. He had a strange attachment to it. The shadows flickered, and the whispers became louder. Come play find me, what do we do? Jake asked, his voice rising in pitch. He was clearly losing it, just like the rest of us. I turned to my friends, realization settling in. This wasn't just about us anymore. We needed to understand the truth behind Leo, the missing boy, and the connection to our unsettling visitor. Maybe if we find the box, we can make it stop, I urged, my hands clenched into fists. We have to try. I reached for the box, heart hammering. But before I could touch it, everything went dark. And then, I felt a presence behind me. Someone, not something, was here. The darkness enveloped me like a living thing, cold and dense, pressing against my skin. I felt instinctively for my friends, but the shadows distorted everything, echoing my rising fear. Where are you? Kat? Jake? I called out, my voice trembling as it disappeared into the void. Suddenly, the light flickered back on as if the world had pulled itself together at a whim. I turned, half expecting to find the shadowy figure looming behind me. Instead, I found myself surrounded by my friends, all wide-eyed. The box still hovered ominously above the fireplace, almost mocking in its stillness. Did you see that? Jake gasped, moving closer. His fingers were trembling as they brushed the edges of the coffee table. What just happened? I thought something was there, Melanie breathed, her eyes darting nervously toward the shadows, half lost in panicked thoughts. We have to do something. It wanted us to find it, I hissed, finally locking eyes with the flickering remnants of fear among them. The illusion of safety shattered as I recalled the figure's haunting whisper. I knew we had to confront whatever had connected us to that fateful night. Let us open the box, I said decisively. Before anyone could argue, I made my way to the shelf. The small wooden box looked unremarkable, aged and weathered, yet an unsettling aura radiated from it. Are you sure? Kat's voice trembled behind me. Not really, I admitted, fingers hovering over the latch. But we'll never know if we don't try. Whatever this is tied to, it connects to us. As I unlatched the box, a low hum filled the room, permeating the air and vibrating beneath our feet. The lid creaked open slowly, and I peered inside. Dust motes danced in the light as I saw photos, crumpled letters, and a small glass orb nestled at the bottom. Leo the first whispered, remembering the boy who vanished from our memory. His face was among the photographs, cheeks smudged with dirt and a mischievous grin lighting his eyes in every snapshot. Each image sparked flashes of laughter, but accompanied by a deep-rooted dread. Do you think he is connected? Kat asked, taking a careful step closer, her expression shifting to one of sorrow. I think he might be asking for help, I replied. I reached for the glass orb. It felt cool against my palm, heavier than I expected. With a sense of purpose, I placed it on the table and turned to my friends. We need to bring this to those who can help. Maybe it'll guide us. That sounds risky, Jake said hesitantly. What if it leads us right back to whatever was out there? Or worse, what if we ignore it? My voice quivered, finding strength. I realized something deeper was at stake. The memories we buried were clawing to break free, wanting to be set right. Leo's not the only one, Melanie said suddenly, eyes widening as understanding washed over her. You remember all those times we heard whispers, felt like someone was there? What if Leo connected us all? If he lost something so fundamentally important that night? The shadows shifted momentarily, as if acknowledging our conversation, deepening with unnameable sorrow. Then it's our responsibility to help, I said, chest tightening with dread. We owe it to him. We owe it to ourselves. With a collective resolve, we formed a circle around the orb. A hush fell over the room, a tension in the air drawing us close. The past and present merged as we each placed a hand on the orb, grounding the fragile air between us. Our thoughts intertwined as we considered how to protect each other. It resonated between us, a low, vibrating hum that seemed to settle into every crack of doubt and fear. We're in this together, Jake breathed. As if answering us, the room darkened again momentarily and the figure flickered into view, a shadow still watching from a distance, but it felt less imposing. I sensed something shifting, a desperate plea woven through its form. "You want the truth? We'll face it," I bravely declared, speaking directly to the darkness. The shadows twisted again, then dispersed, leaving behind a quiet lull. Suddenly, everything brightened. The orb glowed. A cascade of colors flickered through it, revealing an image so vividly real it struck me. It was prom night, and laughter filled my head. A crowd of familiar faces, united. And then it all unraveled, the chaos, the crumbling laughter, the accident. "Together, we'll piece it back," Kat said, voice steady despite the tightness threading through her. The orb pulsed with life, igniting a warmth in my hands, filling me with a sense of purpose as the shadows around us tangled tightly before fading, leaving empty silence in their wake. But Leo's absence loomed heavy, unanswered. And as much as we uncovered, Forks still waited ahead. I looked down, inhaling deeply as the air echoed with unspoken questions. Strands of the past twisted ominously around us. What else had remained buried? What other shadows lurked? Despite our determination, I understood the truth too clearly. You can run from the past, but it never really leaves. Only time would tell if the darkness had truly been banished or if we had merely stirred the waters yet again. Leaving the room behind, we stepped outside, hearts pounding. There was no assurance of safety. The past hovered close, and our fate awaited at the intersection of memory and truth. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but some piece of me hoped we'd finally found a way to face it, or perhaps just put it to rest. I couldn't shake the feeling as we walked away. A shadow danced at the corner of my vision, waiting for its moment.